Hey guys, what's going on tonight? I'm going to do a video here finally on the 2023 VBWRX STI drivetrain transmission swap. Finished this up about a week ago, and it turned into be a pretty big project for me, and took a good, probably solid week, maybe a little bit more, to get everything done on this with some of the issues I ran into. I will go over that specifically here once I get underneath the car, and I will give you guys a heads up on videos if you want to follow for install. Joey Montalto, street inspired, and also ACT has a really good video of putting a new clutch in the STI transmission. They have a whole process of removing the trans, putting it back in with all the torque specs, and pretty in-depth detailed video, which really helped a lot too. I want to go over and kind of cover stuff that maybe wasn't mentioned or wasn't gone over in Joey or Street Inspired's video. And I mean, the YouTube videos they did, it makes it look so simple, super smooth, like easy install. I thought this was going to take, a couple days to get it done, and yeah, it didn't turn out that way. Another thing I really recommend is getting the quick jacks. These things were awesome. I think without the quick jacks, there's no way I probably would have been able to get this done. I mean, you can try doing it with jack stands, but there's no way you're really going to get the car up high enough to get the old transmission out, put the STI trans in, because I had these things all the way maxed out, and trying to get the STI trans under was a bit more of a headache than the VB transmission, getting that one out. Pick up one of these transmission jacks here from Harbor Freight. It was like $150. That was super helpful. I think without that, there's no way I would have been able to do it. I mean, you can try and do it with regular floor jacks, but it's just it's probably too much. You really need a transmission jack, and so that really helped out a lot. And the quick jacks, and I'm kind of gonna go over everything underneath the car here. So let me throw on my headlight here. Get this on real quick, so just bear with me. And then I'm going to jump on the creeper here and then get underneath the car for you guys and kind of point some things out. I'm going to start on the back of the car and then go towards the front. All right, guys. All right, so here we go. Here's the rear differential. Like I said, I repainted all this with a nice satin black chassis paint. Brand new rear cover on it. New gasket. Also put new oil seals in it, and took these covers off, put the new rubber O-rings on the inside. Topped it off with Mode Tool Gear 300 75 weight 90 gear oil. So this, like I said, was the simplest thing to do. Basically, I just put the transmission jack under this, jacked it all the way up. So on this, you don't need to really loosen anything on the hubs or do anything to get these axles to come out. With it being on the quick jacks, being up high enough, I had no issues with that. So basically all I had to do was take the axle nut off and then kind of pull the axles out. So start lowering this down on the transmission jack and then pull the axles out, and then slowly enough, and then they just pull out of the hubs, and then everything comes out in one piece with the axle still attached. That was real simple. I have all this extra Cusco stuff under here, so I had to take this cross member brace piece off to get the axles out, which wasn't really a big deal. And then, of course, the green here, STI rear axles. These came off, I think it was a 2020 STI. Got them on eBay with like $32 32 or 34,000 miles, so no rust on them, really clean. Like I said in the previous parts overview video, I got all the parts, or found everything I could without rust on it. So those are real clean. Differential's really clean too. Diff came off a 2021 STI with 27,000 miles on it. So once I had this cover off of it, checked the inside, looked really clean, no issues with it. I did clean everything out really good on the inside before I put the cover back on. And then putting these axles back in, you just got to make sure you get like a hammer or something on the end of it, or just try to shove them in really hard till they click into place into the rear diff, and then just make sure they're kind of locked in. Pull on them a little bit, and I think the rear end only took me 2 or 3 hours to do one night to get those in. And as far as the axles being too short, once I did install them, it didn't really seem like they were that short, because they stuck out. I mean, through the hubs, got the axle nuts on, no problem. So that was no issue. And then I have the drive shaft here, which is also from the same vehicle I got the rear axles from. So I think I said it was a 2020 or 21 STI with like 32,000 miles on it. So drive shaft super clean, absolutely no rust on it. I have the P&L 1-inch aluminum spacer here to make sure that the drive shaft went all the way into the output shaft on the transmission. So that's a nice solid fit. Good fitment on that. And of course, Loctite on the bolts. And so you have the bolts here that there's threads for these holes where these thread into, and then that they're like recessed in. They go through and then come back out with the nut. So that was all good fitment with that. And then I did the Perrin solid bushings for the differential carrier bearing mount piece here, whatever it's called. And then I also did the Perrin drive shaft lockdown, which you can see is this black piece here on the outside of it. So I'm probably eventually going to get a drive shaft shop, one-piece carbon drive shaft for this eventually, but I just wanted to have this on for now. So with the few test runs I did in speeds close to 100 miles an hour, there is no vibrations, no rattles, no weird noises, nothing, nice and smooth, so no issues with that. And it's kind of hard to see now with everything buttoned back up on it, but all right, so you can see right there where the drive shaft goes into the transmission. So it's a nice solid fit all the way up into the output shaft up there. Nice tight fit, no issues. I did have to put a new oil seal on the output shaft of the trans. Just wanted to have a nice fresh new seal on it. And let's see here. Let me get up into here. So you can't really see because of this shield here. But everything up there, I did the Cartboy solid bushings, shifters, torque solution, solid linkage up there. And this is it was a brand new STI short shifter. Then I swapped it out to the Cartboy short shifter. I really love how this thing shifts compared to the VB. Since the VB had cables, this is all linkage and no cables or anything, so it's a lot better shift feel on it. I really like it. And another big thing I know a lot of people had questions on, it wasn't really gone over in any of the videos or explained, as far as the exhaust mount for the mid pipe. As you can see, I was able to get the original exhaust mount to work on this side, and it's right back in the same spot it came off of. So the STI trans has a bracket that would go, there's a hole, threaded holes right here where the bracket would go for the STI, then it would come down on this side, and it ran on the passenger side. So all I did for this was basically, it's hard to see it because everything's in the way, of course, but the bottom bolt on there, you can see the bolt head right there. So the bottom bolt, it's the bracket or the main, like the shifter bushing piece goes into. There's 3 bolts that hold this bracket in. So the very bottom bracket hole, there's a bolt there. And if you use the stock exhaust mount, I had to take a Dremel, and you can see on that side, you have to shave the side of this off on the right side to clear these little things sticking out of the transmission right here. So if you shave that off and then shave down the top part of it, it'll fit right in there, no issues. And like I said, it bolts right up and nice and firm, no flex on it. Works really good. And a couple other things here. Like I said, this transmission was Cerakoted. Came like that when I bought it, so nice and clean. Looks brand new. Also brand new wire harness on it. I did end up using the Perrin detent plugs or whatever. So there's 3 of them here. There's one on the other side on the top, and then there's one towards the back on the top. So I'm really glad I put these on before I put the trans in. Otherwise, it would have been super difficult to get the ones on the other side. Also used the Motul Gear 300, 75 weight 90 gear oil in this. And the, let's see, where's it at? Drain plug is right there. You can see it where the copper washer is on the bottom of that drain plug. So I have a pump, and I put the oil in it, about 4 quarts, and then you pump the pump, and it pressurizes like the canister thing where the oil goes, and then you pretty much open the valve on it and then put the hose into the fill hole there, and then it only took probably 5 minutes to fill up the transmission with the oil. Works super well instead of trying to use the Motul bottles to dump it in there, which you wouldn't even be able to get the bottle to go in there. So I think I found the pump on Amazon as like a transmission fluid, transmission oil pump. I could also use it for other fluids, but works really well to put the oil in. Yeah, like I said, roughly about 4 quarts it took before the oil started leaking out of the fill hole, and then I put the drain plug back in, and ended up using the VB front axles. On the STI trans, these axles fit with no issues. I know there was kind of information out there going back and forth saying the VB axles wouldn't work, but yes, they do work. And the thickness on the diameter of these is quite, it's a lot less than the STI axle. So of course the STI axles are a lot beefier than the VB ones. I tried to find a horsepower or torque rating for the VB axles. Wasn't able to find any of that information. Some stuff I found said they're only good for like 350 horsepower, where STI ones are good for 400 to 450, maybe more. So I'm still debating on just buying brand new STI axles just to put on the front. But I know it's another issue with those fitting. As far as having to stretch the axles, which I don't really want to do on the front, because especially turning, that could cause them to pop out. I think I've read a few guys had some issues with them popping out, but I think they were older used axles and they already were like worn or something. So I think brand new ones, I probably wouldn't have any issues. So that might be something to do down the road here, is to do the STI axles on the front. And also on these, you have to make sure shove them in real good till they lock in. There's like a metal clip on the end of them that lock it into the transmission. And so on this one, I couldn't do it like the rear, just to drop the trans out with the axles attached, obviously. So popped them out of the trans first with the pry bar. Got the pry bar right up behind here, popped them out, and then took the 2 bolts off here, for the front coilovers, for the Olin's coilovers here, make sure you mark the top bolts on both sides. Since they're camber bolts, you can see where I marked them. Just take the 2 bolts out, pop the coilover off, and then the hub assembly just kind of falls over towards the front. It is still a little bit tight to get these to pop out. You kind of have to work them out a little bit, but they do come out. And I will say, using that transmission jack, and I had a couple of people come over to help me out. And the way I had the transmission jack, or had the trans on it when I tried to install it, is I had it sitting behind the pan. And behind the pan, it was at like a weird angle, and it kept rocking or rolling back and forth on the transmission jack. And that was causing problems, so we put a floor jack up on the front of it, pretty much right here, but then trying to push the trans forward, then the floor jack kept hitting this subframe piece right here, so then it was stopping us from getting it on all the way. So after trying all different scenarios, moving the floor jack around, tried to put it under the pan a little bit with like a rubber block on top because I didn't want to damage the pan. I was still having a lot of problems getting it on. Another thing you can't really do with that trans jack either is to put the strap on it and then with the buckle on the side, because then as soon as you start raising the transmission up, the buckle hits in the tunnel here, and then you can't get the damn strap loose. So basically I had to leave the strap off and then to raise it up. And after messing with it for so long and then doing different things with it, finally figured out the best thing to do is to put it on the trans jack with the trans pan on the jack itself, and then you get a lot better angle on the transmission when you're going to slide it onto the bell housing. I think it was just to the trans jack was probably right up here, and then holding it onto the pan, and then on the towards the back end of it, maybe somewhere right in here, and then all the way just to the front of the pan. So the only issue with that was then trying to get it back underneath the car. It wouldn't fit back underneath because this pan obviously raised it up a lot higher, so it was hitting stuff on the back of the car where I couldn't get the transmission to go under the car. So once I got it back under the car, I used the floor jack again then to jack it up like right here, and then we were able to slide the transmission jack forward on it and then pull the floor jack out, and then that worked perfect and had just the right angle to get it up on here to go on to where the studs stick out here on the bottom. There's a stud there and then another one over here on this side right there. Another mistake I made was trying to get the stock transmission out. I took all of this cross-member brace off first, and that's how they showed it in the ACT clutch video when they swapped the clutch out, where they did take all this cross-member off first, but they had it supported with a jack. I still had I put the trans jack under it to support it once I took all these cross members off, but then trying to get these bolts out, I had the one all the way at the top. There was one all the way at the top up there, and then one down towards the middle. You can't see it, the axle's in the way. So the bolts got like bound up because I think the transmission had come down a little bit and it was at a weird angle, so the bolts got bound up. And I mean, I was using a breaker bar, and it was so tough to get the bolts out, and even trying to mess with the tranny jack to get the angle right again to try and get the bolts loose. It was really difficult to get 2 of the bolts out. I thought for sure they're gonna snap off in the bell housing. All the other ones came out really easy for some reason, but I don't know why these 2 bolts just didn't want to come out. So I was pretty much having to work them out with a half-inch breaker bar, and that seems like it took almost 2 hours just to get the damn bolts out. When I did get them out, the threads were all like mangled up and screwed up, which obviously was from the weird angle it must have been sitting at. So then I had to get a M10 by 1.25 tap, run it back through the bell housing threads to clean them all up. And I just went ahead and went through all the bell housing bolts, ran the tap through all of them to clean the threads up. So then once I got all that taken care of, had the transmission on the trans jack at the right angle, I mean, pretty much just slid right on. There was 2 of us underneath trying to push it on, and then another person on the top trying to, pull it on towards the car as well. And that was the hardest part, like I said, is getting it at the right angle and then getting it to line up to go on and then start putting the bolts in. But once we had it lined up and got the bolts all, threaded in by hand, there's absolutely no issues with that. And that worked out really well. Another thing I will tell you is as far as the shifter linkage goes, I would definitely install that linkage before you do put the transmission, raise it up into that tunnel, because trying to get those bolts through, there's really no room up here on the side to get the bolts through. And I had to take the whole cross member, after I got the bell housing bolts all torqued and tightened, got the cross members back on, then I couldn't get the linkage connected up in that tunnel for the shifter. So I had to take all the cross members back off again. Then I had to use a pry bar and literally put it on the side up here in the tunnel and push the transmission towards the passenger side to get the bolts to go through. So like this one right down here you can do because there's an open slot on the bottom, so you can start putting that through. And then for the reverse check cable, it's just the main bolt for the solid torque solution, the solid linkage that's up there, the bolt that comes through on the side. That one was really tough to get in, so definitely put that in before you put the transmission all the way up in there. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Just follow the videos. Torque specs, everything like that in the ACT video are really good. And then for this, I did use the ACT XD or XTSS clutch, which is good for 598 foot-pounds. I used the OEM flywheel, and then that was pretty simple. Get the flywheel on, clutch, pressure plate, get all those torqued in a crisscross pattern, and then it has the monolock on it. And then I used the Veris Engineering clutch fork, and that's a lot stronger than the OEM clutch fork, where I've seen guys breaking those clutch forks. So Veris is a lot better to use. So that's pretty much everything down here. This is the JDM STI trans mount right here, which does work on the STI trans. All the bolt holes are all the same. Work really good on that. I also have aftermarket torque solution bushings all up in here. Pretty much every bushing you can think of underneath the car, shifter, pitch stop, all that stuff I have aftermarket. I do like the noise the transmission makes when you're driving it, like lower speeds and first and second gear has a nice whiny sound to it. So it doesn't increase the NVH noise, vibration, and harshness. You will get more noise coming up through the car, but I like the way it sounds. It's pretty cool. Everything like that. Trying to think of anything else underneath the car I should go over before I go back up to the top. As of right now, I can't really think of anything else. Since I am down here right now, I will go over the wire harness for the Spider DCCD controller. Right here, you can see that gray plug right above. Right there, that's the main plug harness that goes for the inside the car for the DCCD controller. I know on Joey's video, if you watched his, he ran his through like a rubber grommet in the firewall on the driver's side above the gas pedal. to run the wires through that. I was trying for like over an hour to get them to go through that. I had a hell of a time doing it, and I gave up on it. And then that's when I remembered with the Cobb Flex Fuel kit, you have the wire harness, and then they give you this whole aftermarket piece here where the this is the AC rubber hose here where the AC drips out of. And then for the Cobb wire harness for the flex fuel, it runs through this rubber grommet, and then it comes out right up underneath the floorboard on the passenger side. So what I did was I ran the blue wire and then the 3-pin harness, the black, red, and white wires. I just cut a slit in the rubber, and then I ran the wires right through there. Put some black RTV silicone on it after I ran them through just to seal it back up, weatherproof it. So that worked out perfect to run the wires through there. It was plenty long enough then to run them over to the controller, and I'll go over that where I have it hooked up. So that's this pretty much, yeah, right up there. So that worked out really good for that. And anything else under here I'm trying to think of? I don't think so. Everything else is pretty straightforward. But like I said, you definitely want to have a set of quick jacks with how many times I had to raise and lower the car and do all that stuff on it. They're definitely worth the money to have them. Or if you have a shop you could even go to, or a buddy with a regular car lift would even be the best bet. So then I do have also the bushings, torque solution bushings for the rear diff. It's where the studs go through the subframe here and then the nuts here. I also put the, what can I see here? The rear subframe lockdown pieces are, you can't really see it with the angle here, but right here you can see a pair in the rear subframe lockdowns on there, which also help support these rubber bushings to stiffen those up. So I did those several weeks ago. Those are really nice. And then also, let me go over the rear, the front lower control arm braces from Perrin 2, which is this whole nice machine piece here. That does have extra support, stiffen those up under there. Definitely really nice for that. And let's go back up to the top here. Let me get out from underneath the car. Alright guys, I'm gonna have to lower the car back down here on the quick jacks too. So let me raise it up. I'm gonna have to unlock it. So here's the DSS carbon drive shaft I had for the VB. I wish it would work on the STI swap, but unfortunately it doesn't. So that's for sale on Marketplace right now. All right, so that's unlocked. Let me go and lower the car back down here. Yeah, I love these quick jacks. I mean, think the best investment I could have got for this car to work on it. Makes it so much easier. All right, car's back down. All right, guys. So, another issue I had was this Perrin top mount oil cooler. I had to disconnect the hoses right down there and then right there. And then, of course, I had a whole bunch of oil coming out. I tried to catch it all, but all the oil ran down underneath and made a huge mess. And then trying to get the fittings back on after I was done, it was really hard because they're really hard to turn by hand. Pretty much have to put a 27mm wrench on it to get them threaded back in. You don't want to cross thread it because it's aluminum. So I ended up having to take the oil lines out, which they go kind of down, kind of go around here underneath that, and then they go in right here. So I just disconnected them here, took the whole oil lines off, took the whole front strut crossbar, whatever it's called. The pairing one took that out, and then I had to put these in outside the car. And then once I had those threaded back in, then I put it back on. Then I had to run the oil lines again. So that was a big headache to do that. All right, you can kind of see where I have the wires down there, the harness, the I-wire adapter harness, and then that. But here's the wire here for the DCCD controller. And they say it's supposed to, it was kind of tough to find the correct wire because at first I tapped into the wrong one. So you can see here, the wire is like a bluish, off blue, sorry, the camera's off. So it's like an off blue, like minty green, bluish color. It's hard to explain, but it's not really an actual blue color like this one is. So it's this one right here. Pin number is supposed to be 32. And so once I had that in, I ran all the wiring for the DCCD. I will go over that. So kind of hard to see, but so you can see all the gray wires right here coming out of it, the box. You can see that black zip tie. That is where the box is right there. I mounted it up right under there. It fits perfect right here. Just put one zip tie around to hold it into place. And then ran the wires down the side. And then pretty much right down underneath the carpet down the side. And then they go right underneath. Let me get in the car. And then they go pretty much right down the side. Excuse me. And then right down underneath into here. So the main reason I wanted to install it up underneath there was just it looked like a really tight fit under here, like how Joey mounted his. And it just looked like a cluster in here with all the wiring. So pretty much it's a perfect wire length to mount it there, run the wires into here. And then I have ended up buying a brand new the SI Drive controller here from Subaru. And then I have this carbon fiber cover on it. And then pretty much just make sure you sand down underneath the e-brake bolt really good. And then put the ground wire under that e-brake bolt. The G sensor goes right on that, like Joey's video. And then pretty much all the wires plugging into each other right underneath here. So with those wires, they come out in the top left corner on the floorboard for the harness. And then I kind of ran them up behind there and then underneath. And then they kind of go in with the wires from the DCCD, go right underneath. And ended up being a perfect install. It's super clean and looks really good. So I have the for the shifter, I have all Billet Works weighted shift knob. I got the half inch extension and their reverse lockout. I really like how it sits up a little bit higher to shift like this. Really good. Then I have the Alcantara OEM shift boot from Subaru. This is a Billet Works e-brake cover here. Billet Works button, and then I have a e-brake handle on the way too. Let's see what else here. I will go over really quick on the DCCD. So when you put the car, I'm just going to turn the ignition to on. So when you put the ignition on, it's going to go through its whole LED check. So the e-brake is currently on right now. So it's every time the e-brake's on, it's going to show the blue light and the two green LEDs. So I'm going to release the e-brake, and that's why you have the brown wire that taps into the e-brake wire, so it senses if the e-brake's pulled or not. So e-brake is released. And I'm still trying to figure out the different colors and how all the LEDs work and all this stuff on here. Street Inspire does have a really good video on the explanation of the LEDs and how to set it and everything. So the only thing I don't like about it is when you release the e-brake, it automatically goes all the way down to the orange light towards the end, which is very close to having the differential being fully locked. And why it doesn't automatically, start in fully open mode when you start the car like the STI does, it goes to open mode. This one goes almost fully locked. So I'm going to go over here, flip the switch down. You'll see what it does here. So flip it down, goes back to double orange. Hit it again, goes to the 2 green bars, and then go down again. Then it goes all the way back to the blue and then the 2 green LEDs. So from my understanding, when it's set there, that is almost pretty much running like an auto minus, to where you're getting more power to the back end to make it more, playful on the street. So now when I go over here, another thing too is you'll notice how none of this is lit up at all when it's in auto mode. So when I click the auto manual button, boom, you can see now it lights up, which I don't understand either. So now that I click that, this is supposed to be in manual mode, which it's at the 2 green LEDs, and it matches where it's at in auto with the 2 green LEDs. So another thing I still don't understand is apparently I can set this, you can set it all the way up here to the orange, which is close to being fully locked. And then if I go back to manual mode, or I'm sorry, back to auto mode here, it shows the same exact reading. So it seems like either way, if you're in auto or manual, no matter what you set it at, they both change to the same setting, which it doesn't make any sense on that, but I don't know why. So out here in Arizona, dry pavement, hardly ever rains, no snow. I'm just always going to run it, I guess, here with the green LEDs all the way at the beginning. And then now I click it back to auto, and it's all the way back there, and then back to manual, green lights. So also for this coin box, I bought it off Amazon. It's aftermarket. It's like 10-15 bucks, and then I just cut the hole in the back like Joey did to put the LED light thing in there, so then you just close it. So yeah, that's how all that works, and pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Anything else on this? I'm trying to think off the top of my head of any other issues I ran into, but probably the biggest thing I've ever done on a car by myself, or even having some friends help with the install on it. And like I said, there was a lot more work involved than what I originally thought. Like I said, when you watch the videos, it make it look so easy. Definitely very involved project for myself, because I'm OCD about double, triple checking everything. And yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions on any parts or any other, if you have issues, if you're in the process of trying to do this, let me know. I can definitely help you out with that. And also, like I said, I've been driving this for about a week now. I think I maybe have just under 100 miles on it. Absolutely no issues. The car shifts like butter. Everything's really smooth. No issues with anything. I mean, everything's perfect. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really like it. And I will say, if you do the XD or the Extreme ACT clutch, the clutch pedal stiffness increased by over 50%. I mean, I couldn't believe how stiff the clutch pedal was. Super stiff. And I'm just starting to get used to it. But man, it's for a daily street car, it's yeah, it's a pain in the ass to drive with it. Another thing I can go over real quick too is the all right, you see down there the slave cylinder where it sits on top, and then I have the stainless steel line that runs into right there. So for the STI slave cylinder, I also run the Perrin clutch delay delete valve, which is on the opposite side. You can't see it because this is a pull style clutch and not a push style like the VB. Then you can see the top of the Verus clutch fork there with the spring on it and all that. So I was able to bleed it by myself. You can see where the bleed nipple is kind of towards the back on the left side. I have a Motive power bleeder, which pretty much just has the same style cap that goes on the reservoir. Then you put the fluid in the pump it up to like 15 psi. Then this start opening and closing the bleeder valve on the slave, and about 4 to 6 times of doing that, getting all the air bubbles out. You can just kind of watch the line and then see when there's no bubbles coming through. So that worked very well to bleed that out. Didn't have any issues after I used the Motive power bleeder to bleed it. But if you don't have one of those, just get a buddy to help you out and pump the clutch pedal and do it that way. But I think a pneumatic bleeder or a power bleeder definitely really helps with that, to make sure you get all the air out of it. Because I know people that have had issues with having some air in that line or in the slave itself, and then you get a bad clutch pedal for it. So I think that's really it, guys. Pretty much everything. And again, if you have any questions on the swap or anything like that, just go ahead and let me know. Thanks.